Everyone who knows you knows that you can't resist lying for the money. You're going all out, collecting, staging, paparazzi chasing, scamming, selling the garbage that you're telling. We don't care. You're only winning it in your dreams. Living on life, victim branding, petty and demanding, phony trifles, peddling your titles. We don't care. Heard enough whining from despair. Oh, you'll never be royals. Dignity isn't in your blood. The kind of Sussex ain't for us. You're ruining everything you touch. Couldn't be the rulers of so much as the Burger King. Baby, yeah. Ooh. Could see that you're no majesties. No.
Welcome to Popcorn Palace. I have dressed up for you all because it's a big day. Could Prince Harry get deported from here? Oh God, please say there's a possibility. I am praying and begging. I want nothing more than for him to go back to your country, all you guys in the UK. It's your problem now. No, but honestly, I don't think that's going to happen today, guys. So I want to set the expectations. It is very unlikely that it's going to happen, but it's possible. And so we are going to report as soon as the hearing is over. Guys, we can't put cameras in the hearing. It's against the law. But we have a contributor in the courtroom who has been watching the hearing. When it's over, they will be zooming in with us to give us the breakdown with all the nitty gritty. How the judge was, what questions were they asking? Did any fireworks happen? Could there be any leaning that we see? We'll be hearing from attorney John Witherspoon as soon as it's over. He'll be texting me out. I know he was at the courtroom very early. It wasn't that crowded, apparently. And he's been in line to get in there. And so we will have the update for you. But in the meanwhile, look at this panel that we have as we stall for some time and make our estimates on what could happen. I want to make sure we all were here to entertain you and inform you while we wait for some information. And look who's here. So happy to have Sue Smith back. What's up, Sue?
Hey, everybody. So happy to be back, Andy.
So happy to have you. How have you been, Sue?
I've been just fine. Everything here is fabulous.
Love to hear it. I'm excited to get your thoughts on this. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I'm also incredibly excited to have Nancy and Stephanie Sidley are here. The Sidley twins. What's up?
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi. Hi, Sue.
Hi guys.
Good to see you.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing panel. This is going to be so fun to talk with you guys as we await the verdict, if you will. I don't think there's going to be a verdict, right? I think I want to start there with all your your thoughts. Actually, before I start there, let's just, because we got a lot of people who are here at the start of the show. Welcome, everybody. I think we'll get some more as we're watching. Welcome to Popcorn Palace, your one-stop shop for royalty. But we got a lot of others here. You can go subscribe to Sue, Sidley Twins, Stef the Alternerd. A lot of destinations. We try to bring all channels together, support each other, and I appreciate you finding us and watching with us today. Before I get to our panel's thoughts, I guess let me help sort of recap what's happening today. So real quick, he's warned if he's caught in a lie, he should be deported as visa case looms. So that's what's happening right now. This think tank, the Heritage Foundation, has basically filed a suit, and it's now up against the the Department of Homeland Security here. And yes, they are trying to get Prince Harry's drug-related immigration records released. They want to know if he lied on his paperwork, because if he did, well, then why did he get special treatment? Did he put it and they sort of allowed him to go through anyway? Or did he lie, in which case there is precedent set? Kate Moss, Amy Winehouse, a lot of celebrities have been deported and pushed out due to drug-related instances that they were not open about. And of course, idiot Harry has revealed everything about his privacy and talked all about his drug use in his book Spare. He's also been jetting back and forth to America through his Netflix documentary showing his immigration back and forth. And then most recently, he was speaking to Good Morning America, where he spoke about getting American citizenship, which again, revealing more about his privacy and what something he shouldn't be doing, guys. All of this has only fueled the Heritage Foundation's fight to demand that we get his records, understand what was put on there, and to see if there was special treatment. Why they want transparency here. They want to know what's going on, and we will hear today what's happening. They are currently in a court in D.C. The Honorable Carl Nichols. I hate Judge Nichols. That gets me so nervous because of the Johnny Depp case. Judge Nichols is the one who. Anyway, this is a different Judge Nichols of the District of Columbia, and he will be overseeing this, listening to the hearing today, and most likely asking some questions. He'll have read over both parties' documents, and we'll get, I hope, at least a sense of, is this just going to get thrown out? Is the judge taking this seriously? Does the judge have concerns? All those types of things will be very telling as we hear back from our contributor who is now currently in the hearing and will be with us live. Heritage Foundation will also be doing a press conference, it sounds like, afterwards. We're going to try to get that as well for you if we can. Again, I'm at the whim of my contributors, so apologies if something goes south. I don't know. We're here to try to hopefully get this. I wish we could be televised. I feel like all trials should be televised. Sadly, this one's not. Now, all that recap aside, I want to go to my guests, my panelists. Thank you both for joining us. All three of you for joining us. Sue, let's go to you. With all of this said, what are your expectations today? Are you I know what you want. I know we all want. But what do you think is likely going to happen here?
I think the judge is going to listen to everybody, and I think the judge is going to say, I can't give an answer today. He's going to want to review all of the information before he gives a judgment. But we also know that there's, either number one, Harry lied on his visa and said he wasn't a drug abuser, which we would now know would make him ineligible. Now that he's admitted in the spare that he is a drug abuser, he's not eligible to stay here. Number two, he admitted, yes, he's a drug abuser, at which time he'd need to have a waiver. If that's the case, who gave him the waiver? Mm-hmm. Or number three, they sent him over here on a diplomatic visa, even though he's still not a working member of the royal family. So, I really want to know, when you look like Amy, I think it was Amy Winehouse who won an award and wanted to come in to accept an award, and she was told no. And there was another star, I can't remember who, right off the top of my head. But
Kate Moss was the other one I looked up. Yeah.
There was one that admitted to drug use like 10 years earlier, and they excluded her from coming in just for an awards show. So now you've got Harry admitting to regular use of marijuana, cocaine, magic mushrooms, and he's appealing to teenagers, and he's trying to stop free speech, and he's dabbling in U.S. politics. And I'm like, why is he here? How did he get here? Just because he married an American, he can come in, but that doesn't mean that he can stay. And it's being married to an American doesn't give you the right to work here. You have to have visas for that. Trust me. I'm not married to an American. I've been down this road. And if he wants to go for American citizenship, he has to also check a box that says, I'm not a drug user. So he's not eligible for U.S. citizenship. Just because he's married to Meghan doesn't make him eligible.
No. Well said, Sue. And as we have up here, visa for Winehouse, U.S. says no, yes. There was a lot of controversy as she had to get this. Ultimately, these people did. But for a long time, Cocaine Kate, as they called her, couldn't get her visa, all because of her, caught in the mirror snorting the drug. And Harry has now admitted to the same thing. So why is he getting special treatment? What is going on? These are the questions that need to be asked. Sidley twins are next up. What is your thought on this? What are your expectations coming up for today's trial?
I agree with Sue as far as we're not going to get a verdict today. It's the judge is going to listen to probably both arguments, and then he'll have to deliberate or do whatever. And I think we all know the answer to why Harry's getting special treatment. It's pretty obvious.
Why?
Well, my first thought was the chef, Nigella Lawson. Is that her name, guys? Nigella Lawson, who she couldn't board a U.S. flight after a cocaine confession. It's her name is spelled Nigella Lawson. Yeah. Do you guys remember her? That was the first thought that came into my head this morning. I'm thinking, wow. I'm like, it's so, she confessed to doing cocaine, and the United States didn't even let her board a flight. Yeah. What year was that?
I
That
can't
was
remember.
2014. Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
It's just so interesting that like Harry is just getting skated through life. We're all just giving him these passes.
I'd really like to know today what kind of visa he's on. Is that a possibility that we would find out? I mean, I think that is the $64,000 question.
I have an
I think
opinion.
that it'll give us a better way of knowing what's going on.
What'd you say, Steph?
Well, sorry, Steph interjected because she couldn't wait for my intro. Steph is here
sorry,
too. Hey, Steph.
Hey, I'm Steph too. Sorry. I'm Stephanie too.
I'm Stefania, the Italian version.
Oh, that's my legal name, Stefania, because my mom's Italian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Call
Well,
me
hello,
Stephanie.
Stefania. Lovely to meet you.
We have glasses.
Thank you. Look, we're twinning. It's awesome, right?
Well, welcome, Steph. I was going to properly set you up next, but go ahead, Steph. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've got opinion conspiracy theory, whatever, in terms of what type of visa that he's on. I think he's on the same visa as Justin Bieber, the 0-1 work visa. And that was designed to essentially let foreigners in with, quote, like extraordinary abilities in areas like the sciences, arts, business, athletics, education. If they're like extraordinary and they've got special abilities that the US is like, yeah, we want them no matter what kind of thing.
What
Then there's
special
0-1
abilities do Bieber and
visa.
Prince Harry
They're
have?
claiming he came up with the Invictus Games. The
Oh, yeah.
Invictus Games, and that's what qualified him for the special visa. The thing is, he ripped the Invictus Games off
Warrior
from
Games.
the Warrior Games in the United States.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
would suspect that he's on that visa, a 0-1 work visa. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a work visa that fast tracks the applicant through anyway to get it. I mean, we all know Justin Bieber and his past when it comes to illicit substances. And the US have let him in on that particular visa. So I'm thinking that potentially is on the same kind of deal, maybe. But hopefully we'll find out today.
Yeah, I just
We might actually have a verdict today. I'm going to play a little bit
No.
devil's advocate here because
it's very unlikely they'll have a verdict. Just like it's Samantha Marker's trial, like there's a hearing. It's very more likely that we'll just hear the judge will hear them out and we'll see where things go. But yeah, this idea that Prince Harry has any sort of superpower or talent is very laughable to me. Even Bieber, but he's very produced. But I guess I would put Bieber above Harry. Musically, at least, he's got that talent. But I digress. This hearing is likely, my guess, likely not going to net us much of anything, except hopefully some insight as to where the judge is leaning. Is the judge, which way is the judge pointing, pushing more against Harry's side or, Harry Heritage side? If the judge is sort of more aggressively pushing one side or the other, that will at least give us some insight as to what the possibilities are. But most of the lawyers and experts, we get an immigration lawyer who might call in as well later, who really is versed in all this, warned me, is like, there's just nothing to say right now. And it's unlikely we'll know at the end of this, but I'm happy to come on after to sort of advise where we stand on things, because it's just, most people are admitting this isn't, it's very unlikely they will give his documents, right? And that's what I think we need to also remember. Like, this privacy protection is for all of us here in America. And as much as I want to catch Harry lying, because I think it's important to say, look, if you've done drugs, you can still get in the country. Like, I'm not against this. Like, people obviously can be reformed and do rehab and be fixed. Kate Moss eventually did, and others have. The issue isn't even that he did the drugs. It's that he potentially lied about it and or got special treatment in order to get in the country. And those are valid reasons why I think we're all upset. And I think Heritage Foundation has a very good argument in pushing back to figure out, well, what happened here? Now, that said,
when he applied for the visa?
No, I don't know we know that. But that's the question. Like, all this information, what visa, when he applied, it's all his private information. And legitimately, if there was ever anything Harry's allowed to say I want privacy on, it is this legal records. It's like all of our rights to sort of maintain our legal records. So the Heritage Foundation is going to have an argument and I think a tough time trying to prove that, the demand and the reasons are more valid to outweigh his privacy because of X reasons. Now, that's to me what today's debate's going to be about. Will they be able to step up and prove that? Have Harry's own words actually cost him. I think that's where we stand. It'll be interesting to see where we go. I think Harry's own tongue has put him in this spot. If he didn't admit about the drug use, we wouldn't be here. If he didn't talk so much about his own immigration status, well, then you could argue, well, he doesn't want to talk about it. It's private. But Steph, I'll go to you next. Like, Harry's out there to Today's Show talking about it, talking about what he wants to do, jetting around, showing his. Do you agree that his mouth is the thing that could potentially actually get him in trouble and remove that right to privacy?
Which Steph are you talking to, Andy?
You're Steph.
Me?
Yeah, of course you're Steph. She's Stephanie, you're Steph.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay. I think, do you know what? It harkens back to something that we've been touching upon over on Popcorn Planet. So, guys, if you've not watched those videos, watch them because they're pretty interesting. The whole justice for Johnny Depp, Amber Heard situation that's still rumbling on right now. We've been giving you updates, so please go over to Popcorn Planet afterwards and watch them because Elaine, Amber Heard's lawyer, has done an interview and, you know, we've been covering all of that. But it harkens back to that moment in my mind to when they were all in court and Amber Heard is on the stand and she mentions Kate Moss. And you see Johnny Depp's counsel and they're like, yes. Why? Because she opened the door to then bring in Kate Moss to then testify and all that lot, right? And the reason why I bring this up is because I think Haz has basically done the same thing in my mind. He's opened that door now to where that privacy argument is completely moot. It's irrelevant because he's already commented on his past substance use. And more recently, he's also commented, whether directly or indirectly, however you want to argue it, on his immigration status in terms of that GMA interview with Will Reed. So for me, he's opened up that door now to where he can't now argue, well, privacy, this, that, and the other, because he's thrown that, as far as I'm concerned, out of the window and given the Heritage Foundation an in, whereby, yeah, we should be able to have a look at his records now. Even if we don't have a look at all of his answers, right? Those two questions in particular that really we get drilling down to, if the court just released those and his answers, that would be enough, I think, for the Heritage Foundation. We don't need to see all of it.
Nancy, do you agree?
I do agree. I mean, obviously, the subject of immigration is the temperature is very hot right now in this country. And I think, you know, obviously the Heritage Foundation has its motivation for this. They need to make an example of someone and prove that, you know, there are certain people that are getting special privileges. I think, you know, obviously it's an election year too. I have a theory though. But if they want to bring down Harry in the process, I'm totally fine with it. I think he's run his mouth so many times and he thinks he can get away with anything, but this is America now. And at some point there needs to be consequences to everything he has said. You know, he's not going to get consequences in the UK, unfortunately. But I think by going on Good Morning America and even hinting that he wants to get his American citizenship is, in my mind, it was such a blunder, because if he tried to do that, he would have to renounce all of his titles, all of them. You know, he could not be the Duke of Sussex anymore. He could not be Prince Harry anymore. And you know that he will never want to do that. So he was basically saying, I'm never going to get my US citizenship, but guess what? I'm going to stay in America as long as I want, because this is home and this is where I'm happy. For now. I mean,
Stephanie,
it was kind of like he was rubbing it in our faces. That's
I agree. Stephanie, what do you think?
I have a feeling the election year thing triggers me too, because I have this feeling that if he does get deported, okay, if this is like a Joe Giudice, is that Giudice situation? If that,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, if that happens and this dude gets deported and we're in election season and the debates come up and you got Joe Biden there and Kamala Harris all freaking out over these immigration questions, they can be like, we got rid of Harry for you. They're not going to say that. We did that. We did that right. We kicked that dude out. What more do you want from us? And then that'll be like, oh, distraction central for the political debates. But
I
we
mean,
all share the
that'll
common
sadly only
sense.
have. Well, I guess I'd say it's more than half would happen. It still would piss off the other
We all
half.
share the common sentiment that we want Harry out of the country.
Where's he gonna go?
I don't know. Who cares?
He ain't coming back to UK. We've got enough ginger
cares?
winters. You're absolutely fine.
I
Our quota's
almost
full.
feel, Steph,
But he's
I
not
almost
safe
feel like
there.
his,
He's not
I
safe.
almost feel like his comments about becoming an American citizen are in reaction to the fact that, everybody was so over about this GMA interview, and he's going to say all these things, and, he ran over to see his dad. But I think he had nothing to say, because I think the family has basically said the Sandringham agreement is staying right where it is. No, you may not come back. I think the family was very smart not to let him back, because he would have immediately tried for that IPP status, going, look, I'm back as a working royal. I've got my status. But I think the royal family basically has told him there's no half in, half out. So at this point, I almost feel like when he said that, he was like threatening his father, and that, look, I'm going to become an American citizen. You're not going to let me come back, and you won't let me back. And look what's going on now. Meghan wrote a letter to Catherine wishing her well, and she's not responding. And I offered to come back, and they won't let me, the whole victim thing. So instead, I'm going to become an American citizen because my family has thrown me away. More victim narrative. That's all this is. But he doesn't qualify to become an American citizen. He doesn't qualify. His drug use makes him ineligible. So I don't know what he's going to do.
He's lying.
He's a liar. He's a liar. And how do you trust him?
Do you guys even believe that he even wrote out that application himself? I mean, do you think he really did that? Prince Harry has had things done for him his whole life. Test in school, I'm sure he's had written for him, allegedly. All these things. And you really think he wrote it out himself? Give me a break. He doesn't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Don't
I don't think
forget,
had anything to
he
do with
supposedly had a teacher that was doing his schoolwork, and
Yeah.
Yes, for their level.
she sued and won money because they let her go, because she had came out and admitted she was doing his schoolwork for him. Come
Idiot.
on.
Well, if he's going to try to rely on Joe Biden to act as King Charles and protect him, that's not going to happen, especially
Yeah.
during an election year. I think somebody needs to take a fall, and they need to show a hard line as far as immigration. And if Harry has to be the one to do it, I don't think Meghan will be that sad if he's got to go. I think it'll be more PR and press for her and
For the
drama.
divorce.
Well, I just think she'll be like, "Oh my God, they're deporting my husband, but this is my life. I have to stay in California. I have to stay
That's what
here."
my husband said. My husband said if they deport him, she's not going with him. She's going to stay right here. She's going to stay in the house. She's going to keep the custody of the kids, and she's going to do this whole, I have to divorce him now because he's overseas and I can't take my children. They won't give us security. It's not safe. That's exactly what's going to happen.
It's like Teresa from New Jersey, Housewives of New Jersey.
I've never seen that.
Yes, Teresa. Yes. And look, she divorced him and she's remarried somebody even wealthier.
This might be the best thing that's happened for Meghan. If this happens, if something like this happens, I mean, because she's not going to look like the bad guy. It's going to just look like Harry filled it out wrong, and he's a alleged drug user.
Yeah, what was I gonna do?
What was I gonna do?
If she wanted to divorce him, she set him up but good with that book anyway, because he
hell
basically admits to being in the house with her, with the children, using drugs. I mean, all she has to do is go in front of a judge and say, Your Honor, he's a drug abuser. I can't have this around my children.
Yeah.
He's dangerous. He's been in mental health counseling for how many years? And he's got anger issues. I mean, she set him up perfectly. You got to give
And
her
she has so much red tape on a judge going, well, why don't you then go back to England with him? And then she's got all these receipts that she put out. Well, I don't feel safe there.
exactly.
I don't get any protection there. I can go to Jamaica, where the State Department is issuing warnings saying that Americans shouldn't go there. That I feel safe. But England? No.
But she
can't
was
go
safe
there.
because she was with the Paramount executives and they had their security there, and they were
The guy
saying,
from Head of the Class.
The guy
Then
from
she
Head of the Glass. Nickelodeon. Yeah,
They
Nickelodeon
flew
security.
over on a private jet and they stayed in a top tier hotel and they, blah, blah, blah. So she was perfectly safe. You know what? I have to tell you, just the fact that Harry flew over to see his dad commercial, but then Meghan had to fly over for the Invictus game 1 year thing on a private jet. She only flies private. This whole thing that Harry said when they were called to the mat about the private thing, Harry said, it's just unusual circumstances to make sure my family is safe. Let's be honest. Meghan likes private. Meghan never flies anything but private. That's it. So, and this is totally off topic, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I feel bad for the Invictus Games because has anybody heard one word about the games, about the veterans that were there, about the things they're doing? You didn't hear crap. All you heard was,
and I was going to say regarding that, I've got something brewing about that. It is despicable what's happening at the Invictus Games. I have had emails from veterans. They don't want to go on record, but I'm verifying it. And just stay tuned is all I'll say. Because I want to, before I just report it willy-nilly, I'm trying to do my due diligence to try to get some people on record. But the Invictus Games is a complete joke. It is a complete joke. And the more we uncover, and if anybody watching will have the guts to stand up and admit it, please tell me. I'm looking for someone to do it on the record, even though it's all legit. But from what I'm gathering, oh my God, it is really depressingly frustrating. I wanted to say though, before we continue on the talk, we got a lot of people watching. I'm just want to give you a quick update of where we are in things. We are waiting. We have someone in the courtroom. There is a hearing going on right now with the Heritage Foundation versus Department of Homeland Security. This is a hearing. Now, mind you, it's unlikely we'll get like something actually definitive from this, but we do have someone inside who is watching the hearing who will be able to watch how the judge is reacting. Judge Honorable Carl J. Nichols from the District of Columbia. So hopefully with his questioning, this is both people present their sides. The judge has read all the complaints. He will offer his questions, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of a leaning or thoughts of where this is going to potentially go. Will it just get tossed? Is Harry going to get protected again? Or might there actually be some need for Harry to start sweating? Hopefully we'll get some insight from our contributor, a lawyer who's inside. They're also going to be having a press conference afterwards that we hope to be able to cut to as well via his camera. But I implore you all, I'm at the whim of a new contributor. Hopefully all this goes as well. Fingers crossed. I have faith. But all you waiting, that's what we're currently waiting for. The hearing started at 2:30, so it's been an hour. I was told by the clerk there that this hearing should take no more than 60 to 90 minutes. So I would hope within the next half hour, the hearing will finish and we will have some reporting from you from someone who was actually there. So keep watching, stay tuned. In fact, if you're watching, I'd love for you to do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, because if you want the royalty on the daily, we do it here in Popcorn Palace, hit the bell so you get alerted, and hit that like and engage with comments. I've been doing it over on Popcorn Planet, but I am purposely stopping my coverage there because I want to get the algorithm here. This is supposed to be the destination where we lean in and do it. But there are other destinations you can go to as well, including Stef, the Alter Nerd. She's so close to 100K as well. So go subscribe to her. Sue Smith, Long Sally, go find her on YouTube. Amazing stuff. And the Sidley twins, Nancy and Stephanie, do amazing breakdowns as well. So if you like what we're doing here, support us all, watch it out. And yes, that's where So I just want to make sure I gave an initial rundown since we got over 6,000 of you in here. Welcome. Amazing to have you all. Support our panel and stay tuned. Once we have the verdict, we will go strictly to him. Sorry, panelists. We'll go to him immediately to sort of get that rundown, and then we'll be able to ask questions and continue the conversation. So if you guys have questions, send them over. Carbonized Stardust, I saw 3. Yeah, not enough likes. She's right. Way not enough likes. Smash the like button. It's free 99. Go do that. Hopefully helps the engagement. And then D Nice, thank you so much. Raid from Nerd Report. I missed it earlier. Nerd Report is my favorite. And we love Lewis over at Nerd Report. Thank you for raiding us, Lewis. And thank you, everybody, for being here. All right. Yeah, Sue, you were about to say something. I'll go back to you. We'll go back around the bend. But Sue, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, don't forget that the two head guys at Invictus who raised vocally concerns, who spoke out about the fact that there's a money shortfall, even though Canada just gave Invictus $30 million, And the reason they suggested that there was a shortfall was because they're paying for Harry and Meghan's private jet, their security, their hotel, and Meghan spent, I believe it was $90,000 on 3 days worth of jewelry and clothing. Also, the flying private thing. Somebody told me that if you fly private, you can bring your drugs on board because nobody's checking. So that would mean that Harry could bring his marijuana, cocaine, and his other stuff that he allegedly uses, even though he said he does. He probably brought it with him to Canada. They don't check him for his drugs when the plane lands in Canada. He got whisked into his car and got whisked to the hotel. And I mean, it's
allegedly,
allegedly, the pictures show.
Allegedly, I would argue. So you're right that it would be easier to bring in substances on a private plane. You're right.
Exactly.
Because, they don't have to check as much, but I'm sure they still go through some security, you'd hope. But they pay for that experience. You're right. So it is odd. I mean, look, Harry has not hidden his drug use. So
Correct.
It's like stealing mushrooms from Courtney Cox's fridge. Jesus.
But you shouldn't take your drugs with you when you fly to Germany for Invictus, or when you fly to Canada, or when you're flying.
You shouldn't do drugs ever, Sue.
Yeah, don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Sue, you're right about the private plane, but it depends on if they charter a private plane from a company, or if they're going on somebody's private plane. Like if they were on Tyler Perry's plane, or like I know this happened on P. Diddy's plane a lot. You can bring as much stuff as you want and nobody's going to check you, but because he owns the plane. But if you're going on a private plane and it's chartered, then I don't know how the security works on that. They probably
I don't think Prince Harry owns his own plane.
No, but he's getting favors.
Right.
I mean, who knows who's
Getting favors.
he's going.
Yeah.
Like there was some talk that when they were in Canada, weren't they staying at that Russian oligarch's mansion that David Foster
Correct.
took them up? I mean, I'm
Correct.
sure he's got a plane. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Might be easy.
hey, I just found out a fun fact, guys. Carl J. Nichols, did you guys know this? He is
Is that
a
the judge?
Donald Trump appointee. if that
Yes.
matters.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. You do know
Yes.
that, Andy? Okay.
I did. I reported when I did the first reporting. Yes, I did.
Oh,
hear
you
that.
didn't know that.
Now
I just
again,
found that
a
out.
judge is supposed to be impartial, but yeah, no, that can't make Harry feel good.
Oh my God, he's screwed.
One
Yeah.
could hope.
Good fun.
That is one of my biggest pet peeves, I will admit. And this is the only time I'm ever glad to see the bias. But a judge isn't supposed to be biased. That's what's so frustrating here. The judges aren't. I hate that we know the political leanings of our judges. They're supposed to be the one person above it all, but sadly, not anymore. It's all become political bullshit. But yes, in this case, that is pretty funny to hear, and Harry cannot be excited about that.
Oh my God, terrible.
Stephanie, any other thoughts you want to add? I'm going around the bend.
What were we talking about?
He also clerked for Clarence Thomas.
Oh, he also clerked for Clarence Thomas.
Wow.
Sorry, Andy, I didn't know this before, so I'm just a little floored. But if we're talking about not being biased, you're right. They shouldn't be biased. But I feel like, again, I'm going to say this. I feel like the left and the right would want to kick Prince Harry out of America. I think we all have
Probably.
come
The
to a
one thing
common
everyone can agree on.
here, and it's the same one, man. And I'm sticking to it. I can't imagine people going to Joe Biden and saying, we should really try to keep him in here. We need to help him. He has a family. I can't imagine Joe Biden saying, yeah, dude, let's help him out.
No, Joe's with William. Absolutely. Joe's already sided with William.
He's screwed.
Yeah.
Sue's right.
Please
He's screwed,
go.
man. He's screwed. Yeah.
Yeah, do you agree, Steph? American politics-wise, especially, do you think both sides are against Harry at this point?
Yeah. The screw. Especially with, and it looks like from, what I'm noticing and monitoring, that Trump is going to be the Republican candidate again.
I'm not trying to judge. Don't get us in. They're both idiots. Biden and Trump are idiots. All right, move on. I don't want to get into the politics. I hate politicians.
Buffoon.
I hate politicians. Biden's a buffoon too. But go on, Steph. Yes. Anyway, don't turn us into a politics show.
but let me be very clear on this. One of Trump's kind of, things is immigration, right? And so I can see him taking this whole Prince Hazard situation like a bull by the horns kind of thing and really running with it. And making comments on it and turning around and saying, do you know what? If I were president, then, I'd open up his records because we got no to hide this, that, and the other. And, the Biden administration let him in and he lied this, that, and the other. Then this is a reason why you need to vote me in because I'm going to be harder on immigration, this, that, and the other. I can see him doing that. And so the only real way for Biden to respond and his administration to respond is, yeah, we would do the same kind of thing.
He did it to his son. He said it about his son. They said, would you pardon Hunter if he was found guilty? And he flat out said no. Who knows if I doubt that's the truth, but he said it. So there's no way he's going to go easy on Harry if he's going to not pardon his own son. So.
Not to mention the fact that they found those drugs in the White House. We know where they came from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but there just weren't the cameras there. That's the problem. But that's exactly the point, Nancy, because Trump is such a populist candidate, even today, after everything that's gone on, right? The populist view when it comes to Hazard is extremely negative. So to try and defend him and say, no, we're not going to release the paperwork, this, that, and the other, and it be on an immigration issue, which is an absolute massive hot topic in America, as it is in the UK, to be fair, is political suicide. The only thing that Biden's got is to say, yeah, we would match what Trump says and go even further.
You're 100% right about that. Immigration is such a hot topic.
It's the number one topic.
And what's going on right now is it's interesting because the left and the right are both saying that the other side is not being hard enough on immigration. So they need to somehow one up each other. So this, I feel like, hopefully this judge does need to set an example at some point and go, okay, guys, one side needs to put up or shut up. How are you gonna? Who's gonna?
Yeah, I mean,
when are we gonna start making examples?
Let him be a casualty of war. He's always wanted to be a war hero. Let him be a casualty of war. And then he go and be like, look at me, guy. I'm a casualty of war. I'm a wounded warrior. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was a good one. All right, yeah. Yes, that is exactly the war hero we need him to be.
Take one for the team, man. You wanted to do it your whole life. Be like William, man. Be a war hero.
Political prisoner.
There you go.
But no, you make a great. But Nancy, you're making a good point. It's like both of you are. I mean, the fact is, like this is the perfect example for either side to take on the immigration debate and not be soft about it. And it obviously is a polarizing debate, but seems like Harry is the one that we can all agree on and be like, all right, deport his ass. We gave you one. Get him out of here.
We need are two new candidates on both sides, preferably under the age of 70.
Yeah. No, exactly. Term limits. Oh,
nice.
We all need term limits. The corruption will never end of it. No politics. I only do that because I know that then you'll argue, and you can hear that elsewhere. We're talking stay on point. What I was going to say though was now I lost my train of thought. This hearing I think is important. Yeah, I don't have faith that we're going to get justice in it. I just don't. I'm too cynical. Harry's had a million lives. Nobody seems to take it seriously. What do you think, Sue? Could this immigration debate, the political season, could this finally be the moment where Harry's 9 lives end and this could actually start causing him some stress? What do you think?
I think yes, because I think people assume, and maybe it's wrong, I don't know, but I think people assume that Harry and Meghan have a close personal friendship with Joe and Jill Biden. Don't forget that Joe Biden wore a lemon dress and Meghan sent her a basket of lemons thinking that she was supporting her in some fashion because she wore a lemon dress, because Meghan wore one like 2 years earlier or whatever it was, because that's the way a narcissist thinks. We already know that Trump doesn't like Meghan. And I think he even made a comment on some interviews at some point where he said, good luck to Harry with that one, because he's going to need it. And I think both sides, Harry may have to be put up on the altar to get Joe Biden reelected. Like he may have to be the one on the chopping block, because when people in the United States, especially right now in the economy we have right now, and you're thinking about the fact that Harry wants the American public to pay for his security. This is a multi-millionaire, a man who has $30 million in his pocket from his mother, another 30 or 40 million coming when he gets the rest of his inheritance. And yet he wants the American taxpayers to pay for his security because he and Meghan don't want to pay. I have no sympathy for people like that. When you see the amount of people that are living on the streets, that are living paycheck to paycheck, and you're a freaking multimillionaire, pay for your own security. Why should this is what's upsetting a lot of the American public.
But I don't wanna! I'm Princess Diana's son!
A lot of the
I'm a ginger!
jets that they
My
take
wife's
belong
a
to
bitch!
Prince because they can't afford their own private jet. They get free everything not even because of Meghan. Nobody cares about Meghan. She's got a platform because of who she's married to. Get rid of Harry, you kill Meghan's platform. Like, she's dead in the water as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, let's go there, Steph. If he gets deported, what do you think Megsy's going to do?
Divorce him. She ain't coming back to UK. You got no chance. She ain't going back to UK. Not a freaking chance in hell. She had the opportunity to do so a couple of weeks back when Hazza came over to visit King Charles. You know, you put all the BS aside, right? Your father-in-law has just been diagnosed with freaking cancer, whatever it is, right? He's in his 70s. That ain't no joke, right? She had the opportunity to come over to UK to visit him just to show her support, put the BS aside and be like, look, there's something bigger right now. You've got my support, because everyone needs to rally together to help support the monarch and the king. She didn't even do that. To me, she's not going to do that and travel to the UK when her father-in-law is being diagnosed with cancer. If Hazza gets deported and he goes back to UK, she ain't following him there. She's divorcing his backside. I mean, like Thomas Markle Sr. said last year in that 60 Minutes Australian episode, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, but if she won't come when I've had a stroke, when will she come? Well, it's the same here. If she won't go over to the UK when King Charles is just being diagnosed with cancer, when will she go? Never.
Oh, she'll go when he dies. She'll go when he dies, and she'll make a big show at the funeral like she did for the Queen.
Yeah. I would.
Do you think she'll go?
I would agree with you on that one, Sue. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if she'll. I don't know about that. I have a feeling that she went for the Queen because she was already in that area. She was in Germany or wherever she was for some BS.
She was back in London when it happened.
But you know, she was already there. But she didn't go to Prince Philip's, funeral. I can't see her doing it. And yesterday we all found out that she did that Mayhew animal charity thing for her friend. And she sent a video message. She didn't even go in person. She could have went to support her friends and her friend that just passed away, who she said she was very close to. 2 years.
She sent Marcus Anderson in.
Didn't she send in a video message?
A Soho House buddy. Whatever
Marcus
he is.
Anderson went in her stead.
Yeah, Marcus Anderson.
Marcus Anderson went in her place.
But just as a side note to that, I find it very, very hypocritical that she did that yesterday when you consider her previous dog Bogart and what happened with him.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, but you had a dog where that dog had broken both of his legs under mysterious circumstances, right? And you are a patron or trying to raise awareness of an animal welfare charity when you can't even look after your own freaking pets.
Yeah, we just did a not to promote anything, but we just did a whole video on that yesterday.
We were mad.
We were pissed. You
But
don't
you
mess
guys-
with animals, man.
Yeah.
You don't
guys
mess
Well, I'm
with
going to promote
animals.
all of you. Twin Talk with Sidley Twins. You can go subscribe over there. Make sure you do. We got a lot. Oh my goodness. We have almost 8,000 people tuning in. You guys
we
are.
promoted, Andy. We wanted people to come on and
Yeah, well, no, I'm just saying thank you to promote. Yeah, but we, as we're waiting, they have to wait because the hearing is coming. So we have them on a leash right now. So while I have you here, here's our commercial. Go support the Twin Talk with the Sidley Twins, and then get over to Sue Smith. You want to subscribe there as well, Sue Smith Long Sally. And then you want to get to Steph the alternate. She's 10,000 away from 100K. Come on, let's get her there. She's been working on this for a while. She deserves it. And then you can subscribe here, or better yet, you can go to our Patreon. If you really want to support, and I urge all you guys on the panel, set up a Patreon. I'm telling you, man, this is I'm so glad we did this, because it's an off YouTube way to support your creators. YouTube takes over 30% of every super chat membership that you give us. Thankfully, I had an old Patreon that just didn't really activate. I think it's 5% now, but I think I get it at like 3%. So all your revenue, the bulk of your support will actually go to us. You'll also get alerts and updates, and we have a weekly show in there exclusive for Patreon members where Steph and I get really raw and unleash. So I'd love your support. Mods, if you could share the Patreon link, it's in my link tree. That is the proper way to really support. If you like any of the channels we do here at Popcorn Universe, consider joining over there. But yes, I digress. I wanted to make sure we plugged everyone while we have so many people in the building. And thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell so you get notified, because if you like this subject, everybody here is going to feed you amazing content. So engage, help, support. I like to create a positive royal community, unlike Harry and Meghan. They claim positivity and anti-bullying, but they're complete hypocrites, and it's the opposite. And yes, keep your sugar bucks coming. We love when you guys do that. And thank you, Sueb, for gifting 5 memberships. That's so nice. And then I think Lulu's mom just said, is Marcus allowed to speak on behalf of Megzi when her patronage was originally sponsored by the palace? Is Matthew still considered a royal, Mayhew still considered a royal patronage? Anyone have a question? Answer that. Sue,
It's not. No, it's not.
It is not a royal patronage.
No.
She was stripped of her royal patronages.
Yes.
She went and visited that place one time. That was when she stood up and had that funky popping noise with her belly that everybody was talking about. That's the only time she was ever there at the charity. And not only did her dog break his legs under mysterious circumstances, but she had another rescue dog that she left behind in Canada. First, she claimed that the dog was too old to travel. Then the truth came out that the dog didn't like Harry. So instead of getting some trainers and, helping things along, she dumped the dog with some friends in Canada and went off. Now they've adopted 2
Sounds like Amber Heard.
It's completely sick. And again, not to plug myself, but we did do an intense video on it yesterday. We dug deep. We mentioned Bogart, the dog, and how she gave up that dog, and how,
We also
and then also Mayhew. Yeah, in 2022, they officially said that she is no longer a patron. They thanked her for her work. Blah blah blah. And she did visit another time, but it was like they didn't know she was coming. It was, on that Swan Song farewell tour they were on, where she wore the red, and they did all that stuff. It was that day where she went to the theater, and then she changed clothes and she went to Mayhew, but there was one picture and then one picture of her coming out, but she looked really upset. I don't think they knew she was coming. I think she was trying to get in there to get pictures and stuff to like say goodbye to them, and something happened, and we covered it in the video. But it's really interesting, the Mayhew thing. I'm just really shocked at why they would even have her do a wing. And then she also said that it was Archwell that gave the money to do the wing, but then in the other article it said it was Meghan. So it was really confusing.
I just want to also say that everything that they did, her 2 pap walks last night in Beverly Hills, the Mayhew thing, every single article bumped us all back to Sussex.com.
Yeah.
I was going to say the Mayhew thing, if you clicked on it, it took you to the Sussex.com website. So she's not the patron anymore, but they're using the Mayhew to updo their profile. And we already know what goes on with Meghan. Meghan and Harry donate money that was given to them through the Archwell. It's not a penny of their own money, but yet they take full credit for everything.
Mm-hmm. They're so charitable because they go and raise money for charities, and then it's their money. No, it's not.
It's not just this, but it's not just this big push for the Sussex.com website. It's this big push to drown out the negative stories for Hazza and Megxit, this is no coincidence. They have had weeks and weeks and weeks of absolutely disastrous stories. You know, I mean, the more recent one being, you know, the whole Jamaica visit, and then you've had the African Park situation. And so what they're trying to do, as far as I'm concerned, is they're really trying to force feed the public now all this positive information about Hazza and Megxit to try and turn things around. And it's what you do, right? You want to flood the news feeds and the RSS feeds with as much positive stories as possible to drown out the reality of the situation and what's really going on, right? So this is a very insidious, very manipulative move from the Sussex team to flood the news with all these positive stories that really don't mean anything anyway. I mean, she went to the Mayhew. Okay, so what? When you really look into it, she's not really that much of a supporter of the Mayhew. In terms of her own past with her own animals, that's dodgy. So why is she really supporting an animal charity in the first place when her own history is shiz? Yeah? And then you've got this whole push of, oh my goodness, look at her being at all these restaurants, this, that, and the other. Well, firstly, I thought there was a problem with the whole security situation, which is why Prince Hazza is trying to fight it all in the UK. And then, secondly, doesn't she want a privacy anywhere? Why is she walking
All right,
out
Steph, I got to cut you off. Because we have, it is over.
Oh, here we go.
It is over. Let's
Here
bring
we
John
go.
in. It is over. We are going to have breaking news. John just left. Breaking hearing is over. Let me get it all set. We're going to... All right, John is getting in a position as he sets his audio. John, are you there?
I am here. Are you there?
Yes, I see you, sir. Thank you. You're walking over to the heritage spot?
Yes, we are walking on the sidewalk, and we are following the heritage attorneys, and they will speak in just a few moments.
Okay, while we're speaking there, let's get a quick sort of just overall summary of things. I'm just getting you close up on screen. When they begin their presentation, feel free to interrupt me. Hold on one second. I'm going to trim this. Here we go. Let's start.
Okay.
Breaking news. We are live from the court. The hearing has just ended. John Witherspoon, attorney, has been inside. We are waiting for the Heritage Foundation to make a statement. But John, you were just in there. Give us a quick recap. What happened?
Very interesting. Are you ready to speak?
Yeah.
Andy,
Well, let's hear from. We're going to hear from Heritage Foundation. Let's hear from them.
Yeah.
We got 8,000. Tell them we got 8,000 people watching live.
So thank you all for coming out. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the interest in our work. As I said at the opening, the Heritage Foundation perspective has always been this case is important because we want to know, is DHS giving preferential treatment to high-profile celebrities? And this is perhaps the most high-profile celebrity out there who's been in the United States and where there are red flags. What I'd say is that we appreciated the fact that Judge Nichols came on the bench very well prepared. He's always an excellent judge. He asked very insightful questions. We were very pleased with how the hearing went, and we look forward to next steps in the case. It's normal for a judge, as he said, in this type of case, to reserve judgment and write a written judgment. And he said he was, looking to move quickly on that. And we look forward to hearing from him and going to the next step of this case. We're here on the motions, obviously, about producing the documents, and said he was going to rule on those promptly. The only other issue was in-camera review, which is essentially DHS would take the documents that are responsive to our requests and give them to the judge, perhaps with an affidavit from DHS explaining them in his chambers, and then only the judge would see those unredacted documents, and then he could consider them in looking at the arguments. And as I said, this is something that is typical in these cases. And even though we think we win without it, we would welcome it if the judge thinks it's helpful. Whatever moves this case along and gets us to the ultimate goal, which is transparency, helping the American people understand what happens in these types of cases.
Well, I would add that I think this was a very positive hearing. The judge is giving very serious consideration to our request for the release of Prince Harry's immigration records. We believe this is an issue of accountability and transparency for the U.S. government. The American people have a clear public interest in seeing Prince Harry's immigration records. It's important that no one is given a preferential treatment or is above the law. And this is a fundamentally important issue. How the United States government addresses immigration applications. It is important that the rule of law is followed by the U.S. administration, that no one is treated differently. And I think there's a clear public interest in establishing whether or not Prince Harry lied on his immigration application. And I expect that we will know that shortly. And so a very positive hearing today, and we continue our fight for transparency and accountability. And we're really fighting here on behalf of the American people. There is a public interest in ensuring that Prince Harry's immigration application received the scrutiny it should have received. And we look forward to the next steps.
I think that those are the arguments that we expected on the papers that they filed. We are, I think, generally have been disappointed with this administration on these types of issues. There's a claim of commitment to transparency, but that's not what we've seen. For example, in some of the cases we discussed in court, the government said, here, take the records in camera, examine them. We have no objection. In this case, they did. I think we're seeing generally a hardening of the government's legal position. And that was my takeaway from those arguments. I just don't think that's not right. He put it in the book. It's a statement. Under the rules of evidence, that's admitted, and we saw that. He was cross-examined in the high court on statements in the book. He didn't deny those statements. If it's good enough to be used in evidence and to be questioned on it there, I don't know why the government would take a different position. The government routinely examines people on things like books and assumes that they're truthful. So I think it was an argument that doesn't reflect the reality of thought about it, he put it in the book, he put it out. And you don't really sensationalize a hard fact. You could write something to make it more interesting in an autobiography, but that doesn't change the fact. Yes, after I came to the United States in March of 2020, every night I rolled a joint. That fact is there. You can spice it up, you can make it more interesting, you can add context, but that's a fact. And that's not sensationalizing, that's a core fact.
If I could add on that, this is Prince Harry's own book, Spare. It has his name on it. It's not written by somebody else. He has never denied anything in his own book. So he stood by everything that he's put in his own book. And so I think this argument that this is not sort of sworn, testimony and so on, I think that is, that's a ridiculous argument to make. This is Prince Harry's own work, it's his own book in his own words, and he's never ever disavowed what he's written in his book, including the extensive, widespread drug use. And I think there's a clear public interest in knowing whether or not he lied on his application with regard to that drug use, which he himself outlined in his own book, in his own name.
Questions are coming in, guys. We'll do our recap. We had someone inside, so stay tuned after this press conference. We'll get you a full rundown of what happened as well.
We don't think so for the reasons we laid out in the report. And if he did, it would be, I think as Judge Nichols put it, about the brightest red flag there is, that in his current relationship with the family after the Sandingham statement, that he would be in on such a visa. I think that's the question. I mean, anything is possible if you're in the realm of the government not following the law, government looking for a way to give a favor. But I would be shocked, and I think that would also implicate questions in Parliament to the extent if he had a valid visa and tried to use it as, okay, at this point, how would the Foreign Secretary and the Home Secretary have authorized that?
Yes.
So I think those would be appropriate questions for, I'm trying to think, who was Foreign and Home Sec in that time frame, Niall?
It would have been pretty vitality at
Yeah.
that time. I think it's highly unlikely that Prince Harry would have been on a diplomatic visa. He had no official role on behalf of British people. His own relationship with the royal family was at a low point, as the judge himself actually referenced in his own remarks and question. And so this whole this idea of Harry representing the British government with diplomatic passport just seems highly unlikely, I would say. And also the government's lawyer mentioned the possibility of Harry being a government official, which certainly would not be the case with regard to Prince Harry. So I have to say that is extremely unrealistic, the idea that he would be on a diplomatic visa.
Do you ascribe any thought to the judge's characterization of the three plausible scenarios as being the suite of red flags? When he said that, it made it sound as though, there's no good explanation here. This really needs to be dealt with and dug into further.
I'm not going to read anything dispositive in Judge Nichols' statements. We were pleased he was asking those questions, because that's really the argument that we made both in a brief and in court was, yes, there are different options here, but under every option, there's a problem. There is a red flag. There is real concern that the government acted inappropriately. There is real evidence of that. And, it does make the case a bit more confusing. It's not a single option, but our view has always been, regardless of which option you pick, the record shows the government may well have committed some misconduct, and that's why there's such a profound public interest.
Yeah, I would also say that there's an extraordinary level of secrecy, unaccountability from the Biden administration over this. Why not simply release the records? And why are they fighting so hard for Prince Harry's privacy when he's one of the most public figures in the world today of his own volition? And it is Prince Harry himself who has put all these details in his own book. He is an incredibly public figure, and he has sought this publicity. And why is the Biden administration fighting on behalf of Prince Harry's privacy? It makes no sense whatsoever. So we want to establish the truth here. We want to see the release of those documents. And I believe that there's a clear public interest in doing so.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, the judge touched on this a little. Obviously, Prince Harry could disclose this information himself if his view was, I just want to have transparency on this. But then also the government technically is making a choice to do this. The government could say, we're going to reveal the redacted documents that explain what we did here. And they do that all the time. A prominent example we just saw was Special Counsel Hur's report was a confidential report that the department could have withheld pretty much in its entirety. And they didn't. They said, no, it's important you know what happened. Here you go. And they released that information. So to Niall's point, this is a discretionary judgment by the government that, no, we're not going to release anything.
Trump and the FBI.
So Trump and the FBI, it was a really different case, because that case was give us every time he ever interacted with the FBI on anything whatsoever, which could have been any number of issues, any number of investigations, inquiries, he witnessed something, etc. So and we explain this in our papers, that really doesn't hold up in this scenario where it's one specific issue with that person. And there are cases that have acknowledged that and said the same thing. Well, no, you're not asking about the congressman's interaction with the FBI. You're asking about his interaction with the FBI relative to the allegations in the Steele dossier. That's a specific incident. Same thing here.
Surprised DHS kept going back to debate seeing documents. They just kept seeing us go outside, which wonder why it's such a.
I can't speak to their motivation. I can say that it's disappointing that if there is a diplomatic note which they could release, they haven't released it to say, yeah, the UK government requested that we give him official status and we gave him official status. I don't know why. How do you have a privacy interest in the fact that you're a diplomat in a normal case? And why should the public know who the diplomats are? I mean, during this time period, the government, would publish a list of accredited diplomats in DC because you need to know that. I mean, how's the traffic cop supposed to know if they pull the person over, they're accredited? How are you supposed to know on whose behalf someone is speaking? It's an odd situation.
If the judge would decide that the files should be released, and if it was discovered that there was some aberrant treatment of Prince Harry, what would you expect further steps to be?
I can't speak, and I don't think we could speak to what we would expect in this scenario. Because if you have a scenario where someone was given preferential treatment, what we've seen in this town is that every response is repeat. What we would hope is that the department addressed it internally, that potentially Congress addressed the matter, and there was some sort of remedy to the situation if that came out. And we don't know what form that would take, but we would want the American people to know and be able to pass judgment on it and say, yes, there needs to be accountability. Find out why this happened, take appropriate action. We're talking in a double or triple hypothetical here, so I can't say what that would be, but generally, the plaintiff's position is we want information to make it public and to allow the public to have that information and process it. Obviously, the Heritage Foundation provides a lot of expert commentary and insight on these related issues, so we frequently do that with the information. But the key thing is letting the American people judge what happened here. Should I call my congressman? Should I write a letter to DHS saying, why did you do this? That's what this is about.
Yeah, also, it's definitely the case that, lying on an immigration application, if that is the case, that's a criminal offense. And so that is a matter that has to be taken very seriously if it is revealed that it's very light. So let's see what is in those documents. And if Prince Harry has nothing to hide, he should welcome the release of the documents and in the clear public interest. But it's a very serious offense, of course, to lie on an immigration application.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
There we go. Fantastic. We now have John here who's going to be breaking down a recap of everything, but you got the full press conference there. So kudos to John. I'm so glad you got to do that. Why don't you find a spot you can speak comfortably? Is this a good area to be in? You okay there?
Well,
yeah, you got the Capitol behind you. Love it.
Yeah, if people can see, there's the U.S. Capitol in the background.
Love it. You are. It's not AI. That's really there.
That is right. That we are in D.C. and I'll just give you a little bit of look around since we have the opportunity. This is the National Gallery of Art right across the street, the East Wing, which I'm sure a lot of people have visited. You can see there's a giant blue rooster on the roof. So if you're into blue roosters, this is your time to visit the East Wing. But this is the front of the courthouse right here. The Barrett Prettyman United States courthouse, people who have paying attention to some of President Trump's legal entanglements probably recognize the front of that building, because invariably that's where the press sets themselves up. But I will just go up here against this wall.
Yeah, perfect. Let's set it. I have some questions. Great. As we're going, and I'm going to do a second intro here. I'm not sure where we're going to edit this, but bear with me, guys. Here we go. Let's do this as a separate intro. Exclusive. Welcome to Popcorn Palace. I am Andy Signor, and so excited to be here with attorney John Witherspoon. John, thank you so much for being there. We just went through the Heritage Foundation press conference. I'm probably going to release that as its own video. I wanted to give this recap for all you guys who've been waiting or missed our coverage. We had an amazing panel, the Sidley twins, Sue Smith, Stef. Thank you, everybody. But let's get to this recap. A lot of people are watching. We heard a little bit from Heritage, but can you give me sort of a quick rundown? I know basically it sounds like no verdict here, obviously, but it sounds like the judge took this very seriously. What was your instinct based on how the judge is reacting to both parties? Should Harry be sweating?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I don't know about sweating, but what I would say is that the judge certainly seemed very intrigued by the arguments that Heritage Foundation put forth. It was very funny at the start. One of the first things that he did was he said, I really feel uncomfortable with the moniker Prince Harry. He said that would be the equivalent in his mind of calling me Judge Carl instead of his full name is Carl Nichols. And he said, so I'm uncomfortable talking about Prince Harry because it seems too informal. So what was agreed on was that Prince Harry would be referred to as the Duke of Sussex throughout the remainder of the proceeding.
Interesting.
And that was just kind of a formality that they dispensed with right off the bat.
But the judge was already like, you're not my prince. I'm not sitting here calling you the Prince Harry.
Well, I don't know that it was that, but he just for some reason was uncomfortable with the name Prince Harry, and he just wanted to refer to him as something different. And as I said, the attorneys both agreed, well, Duke of Sussex is fine. And so he was referred to as the Duke of Sussex or just the Duke for the remainder of the proceedings.
So then how did those go? Like, so overall, the judge was asking serious questions to get to the root of this. You don't feel like he was just tossing this out?
Absolutely. The way this works for people who are unfamiliar with a court proceeding is that both sides prepare documents that they send to the judge in advance, called briefs or declarations. And so the judge reads those, and then the judge comes into court and he has a set of questions that he has prepared in his mind, but he also gives the attorneys on each side an opportunity to speak about their view of the case and to just sort of provide a summary. And what invariably happens is that they get about a sentence and a half in, and the judge interrupts them and says, I just had a question. I wanted to ask you about something. And that's sort of what happened here. You don't get to just stand up and give a speech like you're in, debate club. You have to answer the judge's questions. Or if the judge says, well, that doesn't make sense to me, or I want to go back to something you said a minute ago, then you're pretty much obligated to do that. One thing I thought was interesting was that the Homeland Security attorneys, of which there were two, did not come with any paperwork. And I assume, or they didn't even have laptops. And I assume that's because they felt they were perfectly well versed in the content of their case. The Heritage Foundation, there were actually 4 or 5 lawyers that were there. And they had come with a huge swath of documents, several boxes full. They had laptops. They were looking things up in the middle of the proceeding. And I really felt like, this is just my personal perspective, I felt like that the Heritage Foundation attorneys or attorney, Mr. Dewey, were that we just heard speak, I felt like he made a more impassioned case. He seemed to have a lot more interest in talking about, hey, let's consider this, let's consider that, let's consider the other. Whereas the people from Homeland Security really had to stick with just saying, okay, well, these are what the rules are, and this is what the legal precedent is, and this is why this information should remain private and should not be released. And I have to say that a lot of people were commenting on the irony of the notion of privacy and how often it got brought up in the proceedings, given the South Park episode that aired where, privacy, we want privacy, and Andy and Europe.
We want privacy. We want privacy.
Exactly.
We want privacy.
Yeah. So one thing that was very interesting was that aside from there's invariably wrangling back and forth about, there's case precedent here and there's case precedent there, and then of course each side has a different view of it that they present. One thing that was interesting was that at one point, and again, they just referred to this a minute ago, and I asked a question about it, the judge referred to what he called the suite of red flags, which I thought was very interesting. The three red flags are, as has been discussed before, number one, he came in on a diplomatic visa. And as you just heard a couple minutes ago, very unlikely that that's actually the way that he came into the country, because it would seem so embarrassing and absurd for the British government to issue him a diplomatic, or to ask for him to be admitted as a diplomat, especially since he is no longer a working royal. The second possibility is that he came in and he filled out the form and lied on the form and said that he had not had a history of drug abuse or drug use. There's some question about exactly what abuse means. I think the conventional wisdom is that abuse does not mean that you are, a junkie living on the street. If you have taken illegal drugs, which in the United States means Schedule I drugs, cocaine, heroin, mushrooms, psychedelics, marijuana, whatever it is, if you have taken those drugs, you are guilty of having abused drugs. So that's pretty well settled. So that's the second option. And the third option is that he came in and he admitted that he had abused drugs, but he also then went through a waiver hearing where an officer at the U.S. Embassy in London, presumably, interviewed him and gathered information from him and then said, okay, well, you know what, we're going to let this one slide and allow him to come into the country. And that also seems very unlikely. So I think it's going to be interesting. The judge, as they were talking about a couple of minutes ago, the judge did say we are probably, I don't want to say probably, I don't want to put words in the judge's mouth, but the judge said if I decide I want to actually see the contents of Harry's immigration file to improve my understanding of what's going on here and what's at stake, I will let you know that, he said, very soon. And that would probably, I would guess that would mean probably within a week or two. That's just my guess. Don't.
And not to interrupt, but that's where I was about to ask you too. That's an important one, because that's sort of an attempt to say, look, I get it. There's a lot of privacy. There's a lot of red flags. There's a lot of can of worms we could open. But the judge, in theory, could get permission to look at said file and see how relevant it is. Basically, did he lie? He'll know then what's on this form to help make his verdict. That is something a judge could do. Did the Homeland Security sort of challenge that and say no?
No, they said fine. If you want to look at it, you can look at it. And I mean, he's empowered to, as far as I know, he could order that they produce that file for him to review. And I want to just caution, he's not likely to make a decision based on the contents of Harry's file. But what's at stake here is a larger issue. And that's kind of what Heritage Foundation does. They bring up these cases. The Heritage Foundation doesn't really care that much about Prince Harry. What Heritage Foundation is concerned about is making sure the government is working the way that it is supposed to work. And that's really what the issue is. And they talked an awful lot about Harry's right to privacy or purported right to privacy versus the public interest in knowing what the United States government is doing and whether it is handling its business the way it is supposed to be handling it, or whether they're giving a free pass to somebody just because he's a member of the British royal family, et cetera, et cetera.
Is it dangerous for us then to look into that too much? Because if Homeland Security is like, yeah, look at the file, is that almost them admitting in a way, like, yeah, look at the file, or what do you? How do you take that?
No, and the judge said at the beginning, and I think very much to his credit, that he had deliberately avoided looking at the file so that he could approach the situation in a very dispassionate, unbiased way. And so that is the reason why the file has not been in front of the judge up to this point. It was by his choice that he did not want to have any subconscious bias about what the appropriate decision was in this case.
Because it is about, like, are we allowed to open up these private records for the citizen? It is a can of worms, right? It is more complicated than I think a lot of anti-Harry people want to admit.
Well, I would not want my immigrant, not that there's anything in there, and I'm sure everybody else would not want the contents of your immigration file to be available just for the asking. It's nobody's business. The last time I crossed an international border where I've been to Europe or Canada or Bermuda or wherever it is, it's really nobody's business about my travels, when I came and went, and whether I was traveling on business or for personal use or for personal reasons, or if I, what I declared at customs, any of that type of stuff. However, the other interesting aspect of this, and this came up during the argument, the attorney from Heritage Foundation, Mr. Dewey, he had a copy of Spare in his hand that he waved around in front of the judge several times during the proceeding. And he said, look, I get it. And I'm paraphrasing, but he said, look, I get it. Nobody would want their personal information disclosed. But here's a guy who not only talked about himself, and he's a public figure, mind you, and the bar for a public figure in a lot of ways is much lower. And you can go back and look at the Depp trial and all the conversation about being a public figure and how that changes how society and the law treats you. Mm-hmm. But he said, look, not only is this guy a public figure, but he wrote this book and he included a nauseating amount of personal information having to do with frostbite and having to do with drug use. And I did mushrooms in Courtney Cox's bathroom and went on a trip and all of this stuff. And the point of all that was, it's like, look, this guy has waived any right or any expectation of privacy that he might have otherwise had. And he not only waived it, the reason he waived it was because he wanted to make a buck.
Mm-hmm. So bragged about it. Yeah.
Yeah, he bragged about it. And he padded his bank account. So he's a very unsympathetic figure for any number of reasons, but not the least of which is that he has waived his own privacy on so many occasions and in so many ways. And I think that's going to make this case very interesting. And that's part of the reason why this is not going to be an open and shut case in my personal view. And I think that that's the view of some other people that were in the courtroom as well. You might have noticed during the little interview session there were a number of people asking questions, quite a bit of interest from, understandably, foreign journalism organizations. There was a reporter there from the U.S. Sun, who I think was probably also representing the UK Sun, and the Times, and also the Telegraph. So there should be some interesting articles in each of those publications tomorrow, and I'm sure some others as well. There were reporters who had come down. Some of them had come for other reasons, but they had come down from New York in some cases to observe this proceeding. So I think there's really going to be some interesting coverage of it that comes out, and I'm sure that the talking heads, you and Andy, and Talk TV and everybody else are probably going to be feasting on this for at least the next couple of days. It's going to be very interesting to see not only what the reporting is, but also what the legal analysis is of the reporting.
Yeah, indeed. And if you see anything out there that's completely egregious and not what happened, please let me know. We'll bring you back and we'll clarify it. But it sounds like, so moving forward, there is a chance that the judge will request the records so he can actually see them now and make a decision as to, okay, there's enough here to warrant me looking and actually making more of a biased decision. Is this worth it? That's something that could happen in the next few days, soon, you said. But the hearing itself, his verdict to all that, his decision, obviously is still going to take some time.
Yeah, and it's and verdict is actually not the correct word. I know.
Sorry, correct me. Yes, what is it?
It's just a decision. That's all.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
It's a decision. And the other thing that he said at the end was there are what they call cross motions for what's referred to as summary judgment. And what summary judgment means is there are no debatable issues of fact or law that apply to a situation. And each side, that's what it's meant by cross-filed, each side filed a motion for summary judgment. And at the end of the proceeding, the judge said, I'm going to take these motions for summary judgment under advisement, but my take on his comment was that he's not likely to grant summary judgment to either side because there's going to be something here that he's going to write about and produce an opinion about and a decision about, and who knows when that could be. I mean, the courts invariably work slowly, but I would hope it would be sometime maybe early summer. That would be my guess.
I just want to bring in my panel. They've been waiting patiently. Sue, Nancy, Stephanie, any questions for John here from you in your review? This has been fascinating. And honestly, chat, we got like 10,000 people watching. If there was ever a time Harry and Meghan are watching, it's right now. They are absolutely watching to figure out what happened in that court. Should we be nervous? So chat, say hello, send your sugar bucks, whatever you want to do. But let's go to you, Sue. Any questions for, or Nancy, Stephanie, any of you guys have questions here for John?
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank Attorney Witherspoon for even doing this. Thank you so much. It was completely fascinating. I was on your every word. It's very reminiscent to me of the sweetheart deal that Hunter had, where he went in thinking a certain thing, but the fact, I think the fact that the judge is requesting documents and was holding the book and asking so many detailed questions, I think that's for our side, where we want Harry gone. But
get out of our country.
Did you kind of get that sense that he was more like shocked at the development that the Heritage Foundation was giving, and he was very prepared? And it's fascinating that DHS didn't have papers with them, or to me.
Well, again, most of what DHS argued was a prepared statement, and their ecosystem of knowledge is fixed. By which I mean it's in the law, it's in the Code of Federal Regulations, it's in the the United States Code and so forth. So all they really have to do is to know their game and have it down pat and be prepared to answer a couple of questions related to their game. By contrast, Heritage, they're trying to make whatever stick that they possibly can. They're putting up arguments about, well, there's this case over here and there's this case over here, and then there's another case that may not necessarily have precedential value because it came from a different circuit, but it's the best we could do. And so, they have to be prepared with a ton of stuff. But the fact that there were 4 or 5 of them There were 2 attorneys from DHS. Just makes for an interesting dynamic. The other thing that I will say, and I throw this out in the context of the judge's comments, and the amount of time, I'll have to go back and look at exactly, I took notes on how much time each side was taking and how much time the judge was giving each side. One thing that is universally true, and this is something that makes me proud as an attorney and as a member of the bar, no matter what court you go into in the United States, if you go into the Supreme Court or if you go into, traffic court for making an illegal turn, invariably the judges will let you say your piece. And that's one of the great things about the American legal system, is that when you go into a trial or a court setting of any kind, you always have an opportunity to pretty much say what you want to say. And it's really only when the judge gets kind of sick and tired of hearing you, or you start to repeat yourself, that you end up with the judge saying, okay, I think I've heard enough, or, all right, let's get over that. Do you have anything else that you want to tell me before I ask you to sit down? And that's exactly the way the judge played this today. And that's really what you would, as I said, expect anywhere in an American court proceeding. And in particular, when you're in a United States court, this is a United States District Court for the District of Columbia. And all they do pretty much in those courts is handle cases that are relevant to some sort of federal proceeding. There was supposed to be a case at 11:30 this morning that dealt with someone who was incarcerated, and there was a screw up somehow, and that didn't actually take place. But I suspect it was a federal drug crime that 11:30 case was. And if you look at the docket for the case, this was the 4th case that Judge Nichols heard today. So he had been hearing cases on and off, for an hour here, an hour there. And of course, in between those cases, he's not just watching Popcorn Planet, although he may be, or Popcorn Palace. He might be.
I hope he's doing his job.
Know.
He saves it for the night. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got some serious paperwork to plow through, as is always the case in a judge's chambers. They are just swamped with paperwork. But he I'm sure will start to go back, and he also had 3 law clerks in the courtroom with him. We're taking very, very substantial amounts of notes. And I'm sure that when he sits down with them and says, what did you hear? What did you think? What do you think was important, et cetera, there will be some dialogue, and then he'll start to think about, hey, do I want to see this case file from DHS? And if so, then what am I going to do about it?
Just
if he doesn't want to see that filed, is that a sign to you that he's leaning towards sort of throwing this out? Should we take any thoughts into what that means?
No, I don't think there's anything to be read into the file other than the fact that he wanted to be very sure that he was not introducing a bias into his own head by having knowledge of exactly how Harry came into the country. Again, it was, and as he went through, and as we talked about a couple minutes ago, he referred to the so-called suite of red flags about the 3 possibilities of how Harry got into the country, and each one of them seems problematic. I think the interesting thing is, if any one of them you could just say, oh yeah, well that makes total sense, and there's nothing going on here, and that's perfectly plausible, that would be one thing. But since he characterized those 3 possibilities as the suite of 3 red flags, that says to me that he's curious and he wants to satisfy the public interest, or he wants to make sure that the public interest in knowing what's going on in their own government, he wants to make sure that there's not a problem there somewhere. And I give him credit for that. I think it's a very good way to crack the nut in this situation.
Yeah, interesting indeed. Sorry, Nancy, I think you were going to say something before. Did you have something else you want to add to John?
This is just like a silly question for our fans if they're watching. The Sussex Squad, do you know who they are? Attorney Witherspoon.
Are they some of the sugars?
They're the sugars, yes.
The sugars.
Their whole argument is going to be, and what they've been saying is, this is right wing versus left wing. The Heritage Foundation is a right wing think tank. This is Trump against Biden. This is good against evil.
I mean,
this is all
not
this
to cut
stuff.
you off, but just to echo you,
I-
Nancy, here's Time Magazine. Conservative group is trying to get Princess Harry
Oh, wow.
drug-related
They're
immigration
just
records. This is Time
flooding.
Magazine. Yeah.
They're flooding Instagram right now saying that if you even have interest in this case, you're alt-right. They're trying to do the buzzwords. You're
MAGA,
this,
of
that.
course.
Obviously,
Yep.
Yeah. So what I think by you coming on here, Mr. Witherspoon, is it's great because you're basically saying, no, this is the law. This is how it works. This is a federal case.
John, I have a question for you. Do you think that when Prince Harry came into this country, we got to think back when he did it, okay? There was so much hoopla going around, and there were people that were sort of excited about it. Do you believe that Prince Harry was just like, he thought he was unstoppable? He was kryptonite? He could just come in here and lie and do whatever he wanted?
Wow. Well, you're asking me to take my lawyer hat off.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, and just think about, it's hard. And let me just go back to your previous question again about the alt-right and everything that's being
that was
put
mine.
on Instagram. Yeah, you could make the same argument about things that the ACLU does.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And you could say, hey, this is some left-wing Marxist, you name it, group that's trying to cause trouble. They don't want the laws enforced properly, et cetera, et cetera. They want to get, they want to let people run up and down the streets and scream and yell and all of that stuff. To me, it's a hollow argument to say that this is an alt-right conspiracy. I know that's very convenient. It's the first thing that pops into your mind if you're not terribly thoughtful about it. I'll just say, without telling you what my politics are, as an American citizen, I really do think it's important that people have an understanding of how the government works. And if there is something that should be done, or a certain matter should be handled a certain way, and it's not, then I have a real interest in that. And that's one of the beauties of living in the United States, is that you are allowed to have an interest in that. That's one of the reasons why you can file, as was done in this case, a Freedom of Information Act request. And this case really boils down to, should DHS be allowed to withhold information, or according to or is there a larger interest here, the public interest in what's going on? It's really no different than saying, anybody can send a Freedom of Information Act to the Department of Justice or the FBI. The building is right down the street here, and say, I want my file. I want to know what my government is doing to and for me. Or I want to know, like you can, ask your congressperson's office for information about, inquiries that have been made or telephone calls that have come in, whatever it is, within limits, obviously. So yes, the bottom line, as far as I'm concerned, is we want good government, and we want government according to the terms that have been laid out. If we don't like the terms of the way government is supposed to operate, then we can change the terms. But we don't just say, oh, we're not going to play by the rules as they exist. We're just going to do our own thing. That's one of the reasons why, again, without getting too political, that's one of the reasons why people are so upset about what's going on at the southern border. They say, enforce the immigration laws as they were intended to be enforced, and then decide on a case-by-case if people should be allowed to come into the country. Same thing with Prince Harry.
Yeah.
Enforce the laws, let him play by the rules, let the chips fall where they may. And if we don't like the way that the Prince Harry situation turns out, then we can change the rules if we need to, if there's a public, if there's a public desire and a demand for that. I forgot your second question.
Oh, I was just wondering if you thought that when Harry first moved here with Meghan, because there was so much behind it and so much hoopla going on, and everybody was like, oh, we want you, we want you. Do you think Harry just in his head was like, I'm untouchable, I can do anything, I can lie on a form, I can talk about doing drugs? Like, do you think in his head that's what he was thinking? Because right now there's so much against him. It's like, what was going on in his mind?
Well, I don't want to try and read anybody's mind.
He's a lawyer, see? Yeah, I know. I'm trying to break him.
Yeah. What I will say is that, Prince Harry is not like the rest of us. Part of that is the result of the circumstances into which he was born. Part of it, I'm sure, had to do with the loss of mother. Anybody would, you can't help feel for the guy based on what he went through as a kid with his parents, splitting up and then his mother being killed and everything else, all of that. With that as background, though, he's done some weird stuff. I mean, yeah. I would not run. And people, I was talking with a friend the other day who said, I cannot believe that lawyers and editors and PR people let him put into his book the things that he put into his book. So the relevance of that to your question is, the sky's the limit. Anything is possible. Could he have lied on the form? Yeah, probably. He wouldn't be the first, he won't be the last, but he certainly could have done that, expecting that, well, I'm Prince Harry. I'm going to get away with this. And if anybody ever comes around asking questions, I can just sort of ask that they, sweep it under the rug. But again, that's what this case is about.
Well, Mr. Witherspoon, there's actually an article right now. I'm looking at it since you've come out of court. An article has popped up online that says that John Bardo for the Department of Homeland Security told the court that Harry's book Spare was not sworn testimony on proof that he took drugs. It's just something in a book to help him sell the books. And just because it's in the book doesn't mean it's true.
He did say that. He said that several times, if I recall. And there were about 40 people in the gallery in the courtroom. That generated some elbowing, people, nudging the person sitting next to them as if to say, can you believe he said that? Yeah, it's factually true. However, as the attorney for Heritage pointed out, there's something in the law called a party admission, which basically means that if you say something in a book, like Harry said, how do you seriously expect that somebody else is going to come along and say, or that Prince Harry can then turn around and say, oh, wait a minute, no, that wasn't true. That just ended up in the book by accident. Somebody stuck that in there. I mean, has anybody ever heard Prince Harry come out since Spare was published and say, you know what, page 42, that's got a bunch of stuff on it that's incorrect? No. So the point being that argument, lawyers don't always have to put forth the absolute best argument. I would say that was probably the best thing that he could come up, that the DHS attorney could have come up with as a defense to what was written in the book. It was kind of like, a half-hearted attempt.
But it shows also that clearly Harry messed up, and they have to make this argument, this stupid argument now, acknowledging that dumb Harry shouldn't have opened up about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, regardless of what you think of the guy, he sold his soul to the devil. There's no question about that in that book. There's just no two ways around that.
And his Todger.
And it's somebody, a colleague of mine referred to it several weeks ago as it's almost like prostitution. You've sold the essence of who you are, your most closely guarded secrets. And why? Because it gave your ego a boost and it put a few bucks in your bank account. It's sad. It really is. And if you look now at the pictures of Spare online, it's all, they're all 50% off. What does that tell you?
They were 50% off before it was even, I mean, when it first came out, they were giving it away for free on Kindle audio. If you bought one book, they shipped two. They did all these things to boost up the numbers, to say what a great selling book it was. And then we found out that it was a financial fail for Random Publishing House, that they didn't even make back what they put into it. It was a total financial fail for them.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's interesting seeing this headline. Good call, Sue, showing this, because now that's the angle some of these are going to do. That Prince Harry camp is going to put this out there and use this just like they did in court. It's not proof he took drugs, which again, so he's a liar. He's just making shit up in the book.
He's a liar. He's a liar. He's a liar.
Right. I mean, if I wrote a book and somebody and somehow it came out, it was published, and it said, John, did mushrooms in Courtney Cox's bathroom, I would be a little hot and bothered about that.
Yeah. Courtney Cox was hot and bothered. She clapped back on that. She was quite upset that he told people she had drugs in her
I don't think
house.
she's inviting Harry back.
Yeah. I think that relationship went,
She denied it happened. She flat out denied it. She said that never happened.
Well, yeah, because she doesn't want her visa revoked. She's smart.
Interesting to me. I mean, we've always known Harry's a liar. I mean, I don't know. Maybe something good will come out of this where, throw out the Heritage Foundation's thing if he just admits he's a huge liar. Okay. Yeah. I'll be fine with that.
Well, the interesting thing too, and several people brought this up in sort of in the chit chat in the hallway, was, this whole thing would go away really quickly if Harry would just come out and say, hey, here's what happened. Or if he was on if he was on a diplomatic visa, that would answer a lot of questions. I'm sure the British government would not be thrilled for Harry to say that he was parading around in the United States on a diplomatic visa, which, by the way, is not likely to be the case. As someone pointed out, he has been working in the United States, and you cannot work in the United States if you're here on a diplomatic visa. So that probably is off the table. So the real question, and that's one of the red flags in the suite of 3 red flags. So the other questions are, did he tell the truth and get a waiver, or did he lie about it? The interesting thing too is that if you read the, I don't know if it's in the operating handbook or exactly where it is, the criteria for getting a waiver consists of, I think there's one waiver that can be granted where if you are a recovered drug abuser and you have family in the United States and there would be some sort of hardship if you were not allowed to come in and join your family. That's, and again, I'm mixing this up, but just to give you the sense of, the types of waivers that are available. There's
but that doesn't sound that he doesn't qualify for that either.
No, he doesn't. And then there's another one where if you have possession of if you admit to a small amount of marijuana use, and I think it's potentially more than 15 years ago, then that can be the grounds for a waiver as well. But the bottom line on any waiver is that you have to sit down in the embassy with a State Department officer, a consul officer, and go through all of this stuff. And they're under no obligation. I think a lot of people don't understand the immigration, notwithstanding what we're seeing on the southern border right now, but the immigration rules in the United States are incredibly, incredibly tight. And if you fly to, say, Washington, if you fly from London to Washington, Paris to Washington, whatever, and your paperwork is not in order somehow, they will send you right back to the gate to get on the same airplane to go home that you came on. And a lot of people don't.
Can I ask you one question?
Please.
Harry gave an interview to that Gabe Mateo, whatever his name was. And during that interview, which, by the way, you had to pay to watch, and you got another book, he admitted to using cocaine.
Yeah.
In the interview. Was that brought up in front of the judge?
No, it was mostly I mean, I think if I had to guess, the reason it was not brought up was because there's such an amount of evidence already. There's no question that Harry has abused drugs. I mean, that's pretty much a given. I mean, that's why the headline that you have on the screen is so ridiculous. I mean, for people in the courtroom, it's like, oh, come on, you got to be kidding me. Really? You're gonna play that card? Come on now. Don't treat us like we're stupid.
Oh, they definitely treat us like we're stupid.
They do.
The media and Harry's camp, they all do. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Any other questions from any of you? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Steffi.
Oh no, I was just reading online about diplomatic visas and some of the perks to it. And I was reading some of it. It said one can instantly arrange a table at the busiest restaurants, and one can obtain special services and discounts in a wide range of exclusive stories. Volvo and some other brands are giving super big discounts for a diplomatic visa. I mean, it's like, do you think it would? I mean, I feel like he just has that silver spoon mentality.
Yeah, he does.
Where he could just walk in anywhere and do whatever he wants. It's like when Trump said, I could go downstairs and shoot someone in the face. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
And still get voted to be the president of the United States. It's that silver spoon mentality.
Don't you know that that's Diana's son? Did you not hear that in the last 4 years? Did you know that Harry's mother was Diana? Did you know that she died when he was 12?
My mom's dead! Yeah.
Well, again, in his
defense. My mom!
Wow.
See, my mom. God, sorry.
Wow, that's profound. In his defense, he has no concept, I don't think, of the way the average person thinks. He is not like the rest of us.
Yeah.
And that was the question a couple minutes ago. Does he does he think he's going to get caught? Does he understand the ramifications of writing a book like that? He really doesn't.
No.
He really doesn't. So, I mean, the sky's the limit on the weirdness. I mean, I think back to when he
understood the ramifications. His wife understood the ramifications. His agent understood the ramifications. I think they did, but I think they encouraged him to go ahead and tell his truth.
They needed to throw somebody under the bus. I mean, that's what
Harry.
it is, unfortunately. And it's going to be Harry because at the end of the day, it's going to be his fault for everything. He's a drinker. He takes too many drugs. Now he's got to be deported. He doesn't start whatever he finishes. He frauds charities. He inflicts elder abuse. I mean, the list goes on. Someone's got to take the fall, and Meghan's not going to be the one to do it. So.
Being entitled doesn't give you the right to be a jerk. And let's just face it, he's got severe mental health issues. He's got anger issues. He's got drug issues. And I have to be honest, I think for Meghan, it's probably like having another child in the house that she probably has to keep a hold of at all times. And I'm sure she'll be quite happy to have him deported.
Well, all you have to do is look at Harry. The way Harry has, I mean, this is, it's almost boring to say this for the umpteenth time. All you have to do is look at Harry and Meghan and compare them to William and Catherine, and you would think, how in the world did those two guys both grow up under the same roof?
Well, maybe that's where we have our drug question answered. I mean, if you're doing that many drugs,
At some point, he needs to take
no,
responsibility.
I'm just saying, doesn't that mess with your head and your brain chemistry and your right from wrong?
Depends on the drugs.
We were all in our 20s once. Come on. I don't want to hear that excuse. We all partied. We all hung. I lived in LA for 13 years.
Okay,
Give me a break.
don't listen to this, Mr. Witherspoon. Don't hold that against us.
I think Harry slid into a victim mentality as soon as his mother passed away. I think he slipped into that woe is me victim mentality, and I think he never got out of it. You are looking
and being a prince didn't help.
Yeah, exactly.
You're looking at a 30-something-year-old man who's still thinking in his brain that he's a 12-year-old who just walked behind his mother's coffin. That happened 20 some odd years ago. And yet in his brain, It was yesterday.
But
Well, I
Sue,
mean,
you have-
look,
you have enablers.
Yes.
Sue. Come on, it's not good when it can be very traumatizing when your
That's
mom dies
post-traumatic.
at a young
You know
age.
what, Andy, and
But
I
yes,
always
a lot
think
of people are able to move on past it and still live their
other
lives.
people- other
Exactly.
people
You
grow up.
can't make it be your identity. That's not what your mom would want. It's not what
Exactly.
anybody wants. Agreed there. But
Exactly.
I hate to pile on, but yes, when he's at the Invictus Games and he's talking to these veterans who have lost limbs, and he makes everything about his dead mother. It's just like, dude,
Yes.
no, like not even private. He just does it on camera all the damn time. It's too much. It's too much,
Yeah.
dude. Do that in therapy and stop doing it publicly.
If you look at the Invictus Games footage of Harry, and then you compare that to the London air ambulance footage of Prince William, again, night and day. You would think, how in the world did these two guys get brought up, presumably with the same, training and etiquette lessons and all of that stuff, and schooling. It's just remarkable. It really is.
I'm guessing because everyone's like, yeah, but William's mom died too. But I'm guessing like becoming the king helps a little bit.
I think you know what,
William-
Andy? I think it was harder on William losing his mom because at the end of the day,
Yes.
they were closer. William and Diana were.
Yeah, he was
way
older,
closer.
right? Yeah.
I think it's easy for Harry to exploit his mom like this because he didn't have that closeness. So you know how you have like I noticed like sometimes I'm on Facebook or something and my friends who from high school or whatever, and they say, I lost my grandma today. I'm so upset, but they haven't seen their grandma in like 3 years. I mean, it's
Exactly.
kind of like that where they can exploit that tragedy.
To get
But when
sympathy.
William was more like affected by it, you don't share as much when you're as affected by something, and I think it's just easier for Harry.
Well, and they also say insecurities are very loud. I'm just gonna
Do you
leave it.
remember what William said? He said, I just decided I wasn't going to let it break me. I wasn't going to let it
Yeah.
define me.
Yeah.
And he went on. But Harry, I think listen, Harry was never the smartest tool in the shed. To get into Eton, the stories came out. They were digging through his entrance exam, looking for every little point to get him into the school. And then he was accused of cheating at the school. And I think Harry has always been very jealous of William. Remember, William had the bigger room at the palace. William had an extra sausage on his plate. And I think Harry has never grown out of that mentality. It's
Yeah.
not a thing of
He's his
piling
own- yeah.
on. I just think he's in his brain, he's still 12 years old. And
Yeah.
you remember how he said to John Travolta, I bet you're dining out on that dance with my mother?
Yeah.
Kidding me? Harry's
That
been
was so
dining
cringe.
out every day on the death of his mother. This is all Harry has. I'm Diana's son. Love me, respect me, do everything for me because I'm Diana's son. Well, Diana has another son, and he's a fabulous guy.
He's the Prince of Wales.
Exactly.
He's the Prince of Wales.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And will be the king. That's my point.
King.
I can't imagine. The only thing I will give Harry, I can't imagine what it is to be the spare, where your whole duty is to be your brother's support. It's tough. It's got to be a little bit tough. It does. But that said, yes, he's still a crybaby. Whine enough. I'm sick of hearing. Go ahead, John. You were going to share something.
I was just going to say, I mean, you look at the king's, siblings. You've got one who, they wish would go away, but some of the others, they've been divorced and everything else, but they've lived very productive, very.
They haven't done Netflix series and books to
Yes.
exactly spill all the secrets. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, ride horses, grow grapes, whatever,
Yeah, it's not
The
that tough of a
possibilities are
life.
endless
He's
in
literally
California.
set for life, never has to work, and the dude still can't find happiness and just
Don't
needs to
you
complain
think-
about his family. It's really depressing.
Don't you think that Harry was actually in the more enviable position, Andy? Because
Yeah, honestly, yeah, being a king sounds like it would suck. This crown is
Exactly.
sweaty, guys.
Exactly.
I know
He
it
didn't
looks
have to
good, but
be-
my God.
he didn't have to be king. He didn't have to do all these things. He had the ability to go and vacation and travel and do, just do a few royal things here and there. And I think Harry was in the more enviable position than William.
Well, also,
Yeah, you got
his
to go date
kids-
American actresses.
His kids need less security too. I mean, he's got that going for him. He doesn't have to keep them as sheltered as the Wales children.
Well, we also have to remember this isn't his choice. Meghan's the one who wants to make him king, and Meghan's the one who probably always wanted William. I mean, this is not coming from Harry. You think Harry would rather be with Chelsea Davies right now in South Africa on a animal sanctuary? That's where Harry wants to be. He doesn't want to be in Montecito with Meghan.
Yeah.
This is all Meghan's choice. This is
It's true.
She love-bombed them, and this is where we are.
She wooed him with all those trips in the beginning and all the charity things
she
they
love
did,
bombed
and then very quickly it got fancy outfits and trips to House of Montecito. 100%. The whole you can see how it all shifted. Absolutely.
Can I ask you guys one other thing? Have you noticed, because I did, if you look at the picture of Harry and Meghan at their engagement interview, you know, where she's in this white coat, and you look at her face and she looks so fabulous. And now you look at her face. I mean, it's only been what, 5 years? How many years has it been? 5, 6 years?
I'm not going to make fun of her face. Wait, hold on. I got it before we pivot.
Her face.
But wait, John, sorry. I'm looking at the clock. I could be here all day. John, you've been there all day. I don't want to keep you. If you need to go, you're sitting there with your phone outside the courtroom. I want to give you an exit. Anything else you would like to say or share or whatnot from your experience today?
I don't think so, other than the fact that it's going to be very interesting from a legal perspective. It's going to be very interesting from a People magazine perspective. I mean, if just as hypothetical, if this turns out that the judge says, yeah, we're going to open this file, and it turns out that he's lied, or, you know, if the file is opened, it's going to be yet another big strike, I think, against Harry. If the file remains closed, and he could have opened it, it's a lesser strike, but a strike nonetheless. It's just another in the parade of disasters, the PR and legal disasters for Harry. That's really the only thing I can say in sort of in summary. I think, and as I said before, it is just to double back on the point about, oh, this is an alt-right thing. It's not. I want to know how my government works. Heritage wants to know how the government works. ACLU wants to know how government works. It's really all part of the same thing, and to portray it as anything besides that, I think is, it's cheap and unthoughtful.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Well said.
That's exactly what we wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, it is really gross out there. I don't understand any of that has anything to do with this. A fact. So I applaud you saying that this isn't about that, and you even pointed out other organizations or other ways. It is gross that they're spinning that. But we wrap with you, John, because I do want to give you an exit, and thank you. I'm not trying to push you away, but I know you've been sitting there. You are right in that now this is now the angle. He's exaggerated his stories to sell books. I mean, in a way, it is a good headline because it just shows he's a friggin' liar. It's what now the spin is. So as that breaks out tomorrow, I'm sure I'll give you some more coverage on how the media portrays all this and so on. Go ahead. Anything else you want to add, John?
No, that's it.
I appreciate you. We're going to let John go. I'm going to talk to my panel for a little bit more, so don't go anywhere, chat. But John, wonderful job today. So lovely to meet you guys. John emailed me, like, I love your DEP coverage. I'm in D.C. I'll head to the trial. I'm like, yes, please. So, John, I'm so indebted. Thank you so much, chat. Anything you want to send or plug to or send folks to?
Oh, gosh. I'll let you know.
I love it. He didn't do it for any plug. He just did it for the right reason. So, John, you're a gentleman and a scholar. You're welcome back anytime. We'll get John back on if you guys will allow it here on the channel. Such a pleasure, sir. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks for taking so much time of your day to inform us all. A lot of people here are very, very grateful for your work today. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Thanks you, Andy.
Thanks, John. All right, we'll have John back. What a pleasure. How cool is that? John was awesome. All right, I want to, because I'm realizing he's sitting there holding his phone outside the courthouse. I could stay here all day with you guys. I know we got a lot of you watching, but
and he's so
I wanted to
smart,
give
and
him
it's
a
like,
polite
I could
exit so we
listen.
can go. But real quick, before we wrap up, and I know a lot of people are watching, any other thoughts you guys want to add? Before I go there, I want to properly plug everybody. Make sure you go support the Sidley twins over on Twin Talk on YouTube. And then, why isn't it? Oh, there it is. Sue Smith, Long Sally on YouTube, Twin Talk with the Sidley twins. Make sure to support Steph, the alternate. She was here earlier. And if I can ask you, if you liked our coverage today and you want us to be able to do more things like this is the best way to support. Go to our Patreon. It's a way to get our funds and support off of YouTube because YouTube kind of sucks at times, guys. They take a lot of percentage. Patreon takes a far less. So thanks to everybody who stepped up there. We're going to have a lot of exclusives and fun stuff coming, including a Meghan and Harry documentary I cannot wait to reveal more about. It is some good stuff is coming there. So make sure you've become a Patreon if you're watching, or at least if you can't afford it, I get it. The best thing you do for all of us is just hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts, smash that thumbs up right now, and leave your comments down below for engagement to help get the word out on this and so much more. But I want to go back to my panel as we begin to wrap up show. Anything else you want to say? Are you surprised? Sue, we'll go to you first. You're on my left. Sue, anything else you want to add or in summary of this sort of hearing? What do you think?
I think it sounds to me like the judge is going to do a thorough job. And I believe, my opinion, they're going to open up those records. I think they're going to be opened. I think with this being an election year, I think that's what's going to happen. Just my personal opinion.
Interesting. What about you? We'll go to Stephanie first. Do you think the judge is going to request these files? What are your thoughts?
I don't know the answer to that. I know the judge is probably going to go home tonight, crack open a bottle of red, and maybe read over those long documents tonight. But that's what I would do. It would just drive me crazy. But I hope this Harry sets an example, and we make an example of him. So that's my opinion. What do you think, Nancy? I don't know.
Nancy, yeah, what's your call?
I was pleasantly surprised at what John had to say, and I really do think he's going to open up the documents. But the thing that's going to come out of this is we're going to either have Harry admit that he's a huge liar, or this is going to move forward and he might get deported. I just feel like this might be the thing that is going to finally get their goat. I hope so.
Well, we can already report that Harry is a liar.
Yeah, he is a liar. Yeah,
we
know that.
The media is all running with, if they're taking anything away from this hearing, it is that, well, Harry exaggerated and lied to sell books, which is bullshit. But that's the point. We're definitely going to have to do a story on that
That's why I'm a
later.
Patreon supporter of yours, Andy, because you don't lie.
Oh, well, thank you. I try. I appreciate you supporting me over there. That's very generous. You guys are the best. I want you guys to come back. I'm glad you finally came back. But I love, because the more I get with you, I can tell you two apart. I can tell. Yeah, Stephanie's
Just
definitely
like
a little spunkier. Stephanie's like the more comedic, spunkier. Yeah, and then Nancy's a little bit more like got the notes out. It's a really good dynamic. Yeah, I love it. That's why, and I see the chat loves you guys too. So wonderful to have you both, and please come back anytime. I like this Friday live. I think it's fun. I want to start doing a Friday panel thing where you guys get to have a royal party with us here on Popcorn Palace, where we'll bring in new guests. I think it'd be so fun. And then obviously all three of you, you're welcome back anytime. But that way you guys can pitch other guests. We can have a royal party. I get to dress up. I love when I get to dress up in my royal digs that you guys supplied. Thank you to all my amazing fans who go on the wish list and send me these ridiculous but amazing. I feel like a king. But tell me what you think, chat. Would you like these our royal Friday parties to continue? And would you like to see these guests back? I want to hear your thoughts down below. Any other final things? This was a long stream. I don't want to keep all you guys here, but anything else to add? Anybody? Do we hit it all? Sounds like we hit it all. Cheers to my liege.
Let me finish what I was saying before.
Go, Sue. Go ahead.
I never disparage anybody's looks. I never body shame, nothing. My point I was trying to make before was that the last 5 years since they announced the engagement, she looks like a completely different person. Her face has changed.
She's married to Prince Harry.
Well, that's true too. But I'm just saying,
that'll wear you down too. Goes both ways.
Well, he just looks like Harry.
Can't imagine this boring ginger next to me all the time.
She has physically changed a lot in the last 5 years. Don't you girls agree?
We've done a couple shows on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've done, and we're actually doing a show on that today. So, we have our theories.
And she did 2 pap walks last night.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with getting
I don't
stuff
want-
on your face. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people do
Well,
that.
I think we're talking about stress in the last 5
But
years. I think that
Stress.
we're talking about
Yeah.
stress, and I've come
Stress.
out and I've said I think she is a chain smoker.
Yes.
So it's not, you know,
It's not good for a woman that age to do that.
excessively smoke.
Yeah. And
Interesting theory. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past her at all. There's definitely some stress in that household. Actually, really quick, make sure oh my gosh, I forgot a lot of these. That last chance to, because I really think Harry or Meghan or someone on that team was watching this stream today. So I love that you guys in your comments got to be seen there. And I got to be wearing my king hat because I'm sure they're starting to hate me now that I've stepped into this world. They're like, God damn, this guy's good at this kind of content. No!
Yeah, we love you. Don't stop.
So,
I think, you know
sorry,
what,
Harry, Meghan. You can blame
Andy,
Steph, the altar nerd.
Andy, I think it was when you guys went to Santa Barbara and did we want our
They
privacy.
saw that one too. We've had a few greatest hits that I feel like has crossed their radar. Absolutely. So I'm honored, I guess. But here's your last chance to send in sugar bucks. Make sure to support the whole panel as well. But Luzon, please, says, you know what? At least Harry is the spare. It comes with benefits that the rest you don't get. Facts. We talked about that. That was interesting insight. You're right, Sue. You triggered that, and it's true. It almost is easier to be the one that doesn't have the responsibility but gets the perks. And he should have just enjoyed it. That is now. I haven't really looked at it in that way. And I had a little bit of empathy for him for being the spare, and it's now in the trash. Like, no. Mama T. Sussex says, then is Hazmat's involvement allegedly with the Aspen Institute and that censorship group all a lie, too? Is he doing all of that for money? Undermining our Constitution? Good question. Trust me, I'm going to do an in-depth rant about this. Well, it's not really true. What else isn't true then, Harry? Exactly. I was already going there, so stay tuned. Make sure you've hit that subscribe like I've told you all. YouTube unsubscribes you guys too. It's a crazy thing. So make sure you're subscribed to all our channels, hit the bell, smash the like, etc., etc. Freedom Fire also sent one saying, did Harry have anyone there representing him either formally or informally in audience? Good question. It didn't sound like anybody was there. From what John told me prior, it was just a couple press people you heard, and it was pretty empty. I will follow up with him, and if that changes, I'll let you guys know in the next on a video as we continue our reporting. So subscribe. Lulu's mom says the Queen didn't want Megsy back in the UK. Harry won't be allowed back in the US. Insta divorce. Maybe. Wow. Sue Potter says, hey guys, Thomas Jr. is live on the channel about to read the letter he wrote to Harry in April. Should be good. All right, cool. Well, that was a while back. I don't know if he's still there, but definitely we support Thomas Jr. So check him out later. Christy Rose says, I think Harry got his visa when he was a working royal. Both the US and UK governments have a hand in this. Potentially, but we might learn more. Suab, thanks again for donating some memberships. That was very generous of you, Sue. Hi, Andy and all. Sorry, I have to log off for a few. I'll be back. So I think you came back already. I waited so long, but thank you, Sue, if you're watching this. Linda H said, thank you all for the live. Well, thank you, Linda, for watching. Freedom Fire again. Thank you for this coverage. You got it. Footsie Girl says, did you hear the news about Sarah Dada allegedly?
Sarah Dada.
Who's that? I don't know that.
She's a massive sugar, and the word is that she and the squad are the ones that paid byline times for what happened to Dan
to Dan Wooten. Oh, okay. I need to look into that. Will you send me that, Sue, off the record sometime, or like on the you know what I'm talking about. If you know that's remind me of that, because I'd love to look at it. Look, I got a lot of you watching. I know a lot of you like Dan Wooten for his takes on Meghan and Harry. I can't forgive the man for what he did to Johnny Depp, and I'm not going to do it anytime soon. I would respect that man a hell of a lot more if he would actually take accountability on that, because he wants to be the champion of due process and innocent until proven guilty. Nice try, bud. You canceled that man, and you believed Amber Heard, and then you doubled down, and then still believed it, and then you went silent. And now I hope after everything you've been through and you got a little taste of the medicine, now you can actually be the better person and grow from it. We all make mistakes, Dan Wooten. I am imploring and squeezing you to remind that. And all you guys who love him, I can't make you not love him, but I hope you'll at least have my back and understanding my hesitancy. and help me with the squeeze. Let's squeeze Dan Wooten to get that accountability and apology for Johnny Depp, because he definitely owes him one. He actually retracted his stuff on Michael Jackson. Thank God. He came clean and said he was wrong about the documentary. So I know he can do it. I think the Johnny Depp one's harder because he had to pay the lawyer's fees, and there may be a legal reason why he can't recant, but be the better person, Dan Wooten. But that said, I don't doubt that there may have been a hit piece against Dan. No doubt. And if Megzy or the Sugars were involved, we will absolutely cover that as well. I am not someone who is, going to be so biased that I don't report on the truth, unlike Dan, who did it to Johnny. I will still give him the due process, but I hope we can all keep him honest and remind him of that. I'm waiting for somebody. If you guys ever get on with Dan Wooten, anybody who's watching, somebody needs to have the guts to pressure him and ask him what's really going on there, because I hope under pressure he may finally buckle and give us that, which would help so much for Johnny and the verdict, because that UK trial was such a freaking joke. Such a damn joke. Another Judge Nichols. But anyway, that's my rant on that. You can see my rant in my videos if you're curious what I'm talking about on Popcorn Palace and Planet. I think it was actually Planet I did the Dan Wooten rant. So head on over there. All right, well, I think I've gotten all the chats. Unless anybody else has got another thing to add, I'm going to wind it down so you can all enjoy your Fridays and your weekends, everybody. Again, I want to thank personally the Twin Talk with Sidley Twins is on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. Hit the button. Why can't I didn't already subscribe? It's not letting me again. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know. Weird. Sue. Oh, because I'm on Palace. I'm subscribed through Planet. I don't use Palace as much. Sue Smith. Make sure you subscribe over there. Sue Smith, Long Sally. Help Steph get to 100K. She's almost there. And like I said, if you want to plug us here, the best way to obviously subscribe, please. But also you can join us on our Patreon is the best way to get stuff. We have a Meghan and Harry doc, and we got some big people joining. I'm so excited to reveal more as we get more banked and recorded, but it's going to be good, guys. I think you're really going to enjoy what we're putting together. And another one about Michael Jackson and so much more. So all your funds are going towards better productions, more stuff for you guys. And we're going to give you a lot of exclusive and extended cuts over here as Patreon members, along with our weekly Patreon-only stream. We are really delivering because you guys have stepped up and helped us have something to rely on off of YouTube. Because sadly, Meghan and the Sugars have taken a lot of channels down. They've done it to me numerous times where they use their ways to try to shut us up or copyright us for bullshit reasons. And it scared me in a way. I'm like, I can't just rely on YouTube anymore. So we've set up the Patreon as a backup that if YouTube gets turned off for whatever reason, we can still contact you. You'll get alerts and you can still monetarily support us. And that way we have something else to rely on if YouTube tries to pull some shenanigans. So all of you guys who have supported over there, thank you. You can sign up for free as well. But ideally, you guys sign up for one of the paid tiers. It would help. I'm putting the link right there. So there it is.
It's worth it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. We're trying. That's really sweet of you. We're trying to make sure I gotta have Steph to help me post more of our exclusives here and there. I'm trying to get, are there too many, be honest, too many alerts, not enough alerts? No. Do you get the alerts? What is your suggestion?
I don't think there's enough alerts. You guys should, I don't know. I just love you guys. I'm a patron. I'm a member. I love it.
That's incredible. In chat, tell me too. I don't alert everything because I've been warned. Like if you bog your viewers down, they turn it off. So I'm trying to walk that line of give you enough, but I should probably do more. Let me know Patreon. I'll post a post on Patreon tonight. You guys, a free one. You can all comment. Let me know your thoughts and preferences on that. I'm just making sure Lewis or anybody isn't live, so I can redirect them. If not, have you guys follow somebody else. Great. Let's see here. No, none of them are live. So check out these two channels, Sue and Sidley Twins. Go watch them. Go show them some love. There we go. What a show. Thank you again to John Witherspoon, attorney. What an amazing opportunity to have him on. He crushed it. We will absolutely have him back. And thank you to Sue, to Nancy, to Stephanie, Sidley, and to Steph the Alternate for being here, and all you for watching us live. What a blast that was. We will be back here live on a Friday having another royal party, and I'll don the crown. So make sure you subscribe here to Popcorn Palace if you haven't already. This is our channel where we focus strictly on royals. Hit the bells, hit the likes, leave the comments, engage to me and all these amazing, wonderful people on the panel, and stay tuned for more content. Thanks again for watching, Bye!